Welcome to our monthly series. We're so excited to begin our journey together. Happy New Year 2020. I'm Cathleen Beerkens, and I'm going to bring you a lot of information over the next coming months and a lot of fun. I hope we can have a lot of fun together. In this series, I hope to share a lot of information and a lot of knowledge and new ideas, actually, about new sciences and new understandings of how our body, mind, and spirit work together, and what we can do, what you can do to stay healthy, and what that really means. Like, what is health actually all about? Health is funny because when I was a nurse, I thought it was easy to be healthy, but of course I was young, and everybody thinks they can be healthy when they're young because they feel good still. And you don't notice till later on that things are not working, or you have issues, you're fatigued, you have headaches, whatever it is that starts to come to you and you say, oh, I don't feel optimally here. But as I was going and I was a nurse and I was experiencing life, I was amazed at what I saw. And what I was shocked about was how people came in the hospital, because I was a nurse there, and they actually didn't know they were ill. They didn't feel any imbalance at all. That was quite shocking, actually, because I didn't expect that. I thought as a young person that if you were not well, you would feel that. So that was the first thing that intrigued me about wellness, that it's not always how you feel. Now, we do want to feel well, but do we feel well all the time? Not at all. Being on Earth is rather an interesting experience in the sense that we're here and we come to planet Earth and we say, there's no guide. There's no one saying, this is how you're going to live your life. Here, I'm going to give you this amazing instruction manual, and you're going to come, and this is what you have to do to be happy and healthy and well. No, that's not what happens. We come to parents, and sometimes our parents have imbalances, and we don't know actually who we are. We're trying to figure that out. We grow up. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do here on Earth. And suddenly, over time, we have children, maybe not. Our bodies start to break down. And on Earth as it is right now, not everything, unfortunately, is going perfectly, is it? We have a lot of pollution. We have a lot of toxins. Our food is not exactly what it seems. So there's a lot of things we're going to explore in this series about things you can do in your own life to actually feel better, to have a better quality of life, and to be happy. I think that is ultimately what we want to be. And we're going to explore actually what happiness is, because that is a relative term, isn't it? Not everything is going to make everybody happy in the same way. So we're going to talk a lot about what are factors that influence our well-being, actually. What are factors that are going to influence you in your mind, in your spirit, and in your body? I want to talk today a little bit about my mission, why I'm even here. I never thought I would be doing this channel or a channel. We go through life and we can't connect the dots as we go to know where we're going to end up. But we can look later and we can say, oh, I did this and I did that and I did this, and that's how I ended up here. So I'm here today, and I think it's fun that I'm with you and that we're going to have a lot of experiences visiting therapists and people in the field doing the work of helping people rebalance their body, mind, and spirit, what that's all about. We like to think that it's not about a disease. We have to have a new idea here. We don't want to just try to prevent illness because then we think of the word illness. We want to have another thought, which would be, how about if we could just be the best we could be? In other words, wherever you are now, you could get a lot better. And that's a process. See, wellness and being happy and trying to find out who you are and living your purpose and passion, all of that is a process. It's actually not a destination, because we often think, oh, I'm healthy and it's great, and it's like we're there, we've arrived. And yes, we want to live in the moment, and we want to arrive to be well. However, I think we have to understand that our bodies need care. They need a lot of care and attention, and that's not always what they're getting. Not only our bodies, but our thoughts and our emotions. We're going to talk a lot about emotions. So we need to understand, have a kind of new awareness of how we really care for ourselves. In this series, we're really going to look at that holistically and look at stress and food and how spiritual healers help people with their thoughts and mind, and how important our mind is actually. How important is what you think about, because your thoughts are powerful. Actually, that was one of my first lessons, you would say, in life. I was always worried about things, as a young child, young girl, and I would be thinking, worrying, whatever, because I wanted to do well and I wanted to achieve whatever it was that I wanted to achieve. And as I was worrying, I was creating a very chaotic environment. And I had no idea that I was doing that. I was just thinking that my life was chaotic. That's so interesting. But as I grew in this understanding of how powerful our thoughts are, and we're really going to explore that here, I started to realize that actually my thinking had to change, because it was my thoughts that thought everything was going to, I feared. I had a lot of fear. And that fear made a difference and created a real turbulent life at that time for me. So I think if we can understand this, but it takes time. We can understand. I always tell my students, we can understand things in our mind, but we don't necessarily incorporate them in our daily life, because it's sort of like there. Oh yeah, I understand that. Oh yeah, I get that. But do we really own it? Do we bring it into our reality so we become that? That's different. And that takes practice. And that's why we're here on planet Earth, actually, to practice. So I realized there was a tremendous need for more of an understanding, a more holistic understanding. As I go through this series with you, I will share more personal experiences I've had that have really brought this to me, this understanding, because I was trained a very Western nurse, and I have doctors and all kinds of, my father's a chemist, and so I have a lot of scientific background, which is left brain. And I was really surprised about this whole new understanding of how things work on a much more holistic level than I ever imagined. My children were my teacher. As they came to Earth, I had to learn through them and all the mistakes I made. We do our best as parents, but we learn a lot. I have 3 wonderful children who are my teachers still, and they teach me every day. Now, I started a mission with a lot of like-minded people, a lot of people who are in the field of health and wellness, and they're therapists. They do the work of actually really trying to help people heal. Holland, actually, I moved to Holland 23 years ago with my Dutch husband, and I was surprised. It was really a gift to me. I was totally surprised at how much the Dutch, how far they are, how holistic they already were at the time. I had a sick child, and I would go to the hospital, and I would expect that he would be put on antibiotics, and the Dutch doctor would say, "No, I think your son is fine. I think he just needs a few more days." And that was so different for me, because I came from the United States, where at that time we were really using a lot of antibiotics very quickly, especially with children. So I was really amazed, that he got better on his own. And I'm not ever going to tell you that you don't need drugs or that drugs don't matter. They're here on Earth and they're important. Sometimes you really do need them. But my question is, at that time, I had to follow a new way, because I was in a new country with different belief systems and traditions. And here they were saying, well, no, it's not quite like that. So I learned a different way here in the Netherlands. And part of what I'm going to bring is how progressive the Dutch are to the planet in their holistic thinking. They've really taught me a lot, and I'm excited to share all the work that I found here. Now, there are people all over the planet doing amazing things, and there's a lot of progression right now on Earth. We're really seeing breakthroughs in science and breakthroughs in technology that we could never have imagined. We're in a new time. You know, there's going to be a thing. It's going to be before 2020 and after 2020. And 2020 is going to mark an incredible time in history. And when I say incredible, I mean incredible. People are going to look back and they're going to say that technology before 2020 was nothing. 2020 and onwards, well, now this is just catapulting. It's a new revolution, actually, a new time. And so we're going to also be investigating as we go through the series, new modalities of healing, new ideas of science that are coming on the planet that will help us really understand how our bodies work, how our cells work, and that our cells matter, because we are actually composed, these bodies of ours, of living cells. And we so often don't realize that. They also need self-care, and we need to understand what they need to be able to take care of them. So I want to really address now an issue about imbalance. How do we know, or how do I know that I'm out of balance? Well, sometimes you really feel bad, and then you know because you don't feel well. But many, many times you're out of balance and you just can't figure that out, because what I've come to understand is that many people are very disconnected from themselves on all of these levels. And the more connected we become with who we really are on all of the levels of body, mind, and spirit, the more we start to feel things, and the more we start to understand and can kind of listen to the signals of what our body is actually telling us, because our body talks to us. And our body is sending us constant messages, but are we listening? That's the thing. Many times we just are not listening to our bodies. So we really want to learn about that. How can we become more connected? How can we become more connected to ourselves to be able to listen to the body and the messages, and to be able to understand those messages and what they mean to us? Now, let's talk about emotions, because emotions are a big part of the whole thing. Actually, emotions are everything. Our emotions are so intense on planet Earth. They're huge, and they're like a compass. So we have frequencies of emotions, very high frequencies, which are frequencies of feeling joyful or feeling happy and loving. All of those are very high frequencies. Then there are a little bit lower frequencies, like having courage, or having the will to do something, or even being angry is a middle of the road emotional state, believe it or not. But lower frequencies are sadness, feeling maybe shame, or feeling scared, fear. All of these are very low frequencies. So these emotions are telling us how we're doing. They're an emotional compass. Now, are we supposed to always have joy? No, because if we had always joy, if we were always completely joyful, would we understand when we weren't? That's interesting. So we need all these emotions to know how we are, as a compass, to know how we're doing. But what happens is people, and this is really the hard part, people get stuck in their emotions. They get stuck in the frequency, and they get stuck so far down and they don't know how to get out of it. And that's something that coaching, and that's why we have we believe in coaching. We believe in the new time we need more and more coaches to help us to realize, take a step back and know how to make the shifts to change those emotions. Because that's in our power. We are not victims of these emotions. These emotions are part of our earthly existence, and they need to be with us to show us our path, to tell us, oh, this doesn't feel good. They're like warning signs, like, oh, no, this isn't good. This person, no, and this person's good. Wow. Or this experience is good, or this direction makes me feel good, and this one doesn't. And we have to start to listen to those clues, because they're not just there by accident. They're there to help us and to guide us. And with all this change on the planet can come a lot of chaos, actually. We can, just listening to the news or listening to what's happening in our families and our work, it's very chaotic because our old jobs that we used to have on the planet are now changing. I mean, we are really creating a new world order, a new way of being. And in the process of doing that, a lot of the old ways we used to do things are not serving us anymore. And so we have to kind of work on a new way of living. And this coaching can really help us to look at what we call all the factors in our life that nourish us in other ways, like the relationships we choose and the work we choose and the people, friendships we choose, and the passions that we choose to explore and develop in ourselves. All of these factors can become confused when one of them is confused, they all seem to affect each other. Or one can be going really well and the rest of them, or a couple of them, are not at all. So to be holistically well, all of these factors need to be addressed in our life. We need to be in a little more balance, like our work-life balance. And is that how it is on the planet right now? No. People are either crazy with their jobs and forgetting even their family, or they're with their family all the time and then they're not succeeding in what they want to do. So we want to help people, and coaching is an incredible way of helping people, not only in their relationships and their jobs and all of these things, but also in their physical well-being. Because how can you do the life work you're meant to do when you don't feel well? It's impossible. I know. I had a moment in my life like that after I had my first baby. I was just exhausted. No one can prepare you for that. It's like, oh, you have a new child. You're going to have to are you ready to not sleep for 8 months? Are you ready? I mean, it's wild, but that's what happened to me. So with that experience, my body just started to go crazy, because also having a baby as a woman takes a lot, really. And we're not prepared for it. People don't say, you're going to be nutritionally depleted when you're done having this baby. Because why? Because everything goes to the baby and not to you. That's how it works. So there's a real need for education about health and wellness in a new way. And that's what we're hoping at A Wellness Revolution to bring to you during this series. We're just totally excited. Now, one of the other things I want to talk about is the change in consciousness on the planet. There is a huge shift. And what is consciousness, actually? People say, oh, you hear this all the time, people are growing in consciousness. What I think that means is that we're really growing in our awareness. We're seeing more. We're seeing more, we're understanding more, we're knowing ourselves better than ever before. And with this new increased awareness, we're actually going to make better decisions. We're going to have different decisions, and we're going to be more creative. That's for sure, because the base of all creativity is to have a high consciousness. When we're in our highest potentiality, we can create amazing things. And that is happening when we have an increase in our consciousness. We've created a 6-month course where you can be trained as a certified health and wellness coach. And we believe that these coaches are the future, because not only are they there's nothing wrong with being a life coach, but when you also get trained in the body and understand it at a cellular level, you start to understand the complexity of our whole system. And you can really help people also with their food and choices they make in their life like that. Like, for instance, one of the issues we're having right now is a lot of issues with weight. And I know how that is. I've had that in my life. That is not easy. And we have to understand it in a new way. And when we look at the new sciences, we can really address this whole issue of weight management in a more holistic way. And what are those new sciences? What am I talking about? The biggest one is the science of epigenetics. Epigenetics is the science that goes above genetics, and we're starting to understand that on a really deep level, that we have a lot more power than we ever realized. Neuroscience offers us a new understanding of our thoughts and how the brain works and how powerful the brain is and how we have to learn how to care and take care of our brain, because actually nobody teaches you about that either, and that is the one thing that is the hardest to rejuvenate. So we have to learn prevention and brain health and what that's all about. Also, the science of glycobiology. What is that? That is the science that tells us and teaches us that our cells talk to each other, and they communicate everything that happens in our bodies, mind and spirit. It's pretty amazing, actually, remarkable. It's a miracle. And we so often don't even realize what's happening. So when we take a look at these new sciences, and they help us to understand the old way of thinking in the scientific world, and they give us new clues to rejuvenation and healthy aging. And this is the future of what we have to look at, because we want to age well, don't we? We don't want to age and lose our minds and feel exhausted. And you know, in this new time, we can create anything. We're realizing that we create our lives. So if we can create anything, we can create a life where we age and we don't, end up in a nursing home, and we don't lose our mind, and we don't have every part of our body breaking down and our joints hurting and all of this. So I believe in a world where we can create it in a different way, and at least we should explore it together.